I'm always looking to infuse my wardrobe with staple pieces for the season ahead. Quince nails it with luxe essentials that feel effortless and look polished, perfect for layering and mixing. Think chic cashmere and cotton sweaters starting at just $40. Washable silk tops and classic denim pants. They're timeless styles that you'll keep coming back to. And the best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. And by working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury without the markup, and they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I just bought a beautiful black quilted bag for travel. I'm thinking airport bag for the next lacrosse tournament. You can elevate your fall wardrobe essentials with Quince. You can go to quince.com/KateCasey for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/KateCasey to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/KateCasey.
At Designer Shoe Warehouse, we believe that shoes are an important part of, well, everything.
From first steps to first dates, from all-nighters to all-time personal bests.
From building pillow forts to building a life.
For all the big and small moments that make up your whole world, DSW is there. And we've got just the shoes. Find a shoe for every you from brands you love at brag-worthy prices at your DSW store or DSW.com.
The amazing Kate Casey.
Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey. And welcome back for this Saturday series episode. And I can't wait to tell you my guest today. It's Carli Lloyd. She's the epitome of a player who thrives under pressure. International soccer star. She began playing soccer at age 5 and became one of the sport's leading midfielders and players. She's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time FIFA Women's World Cup champion, 2-time FIFA Player of the Year, and a 4-time Olympian. She scored the gold medal winning goals in the finals of the 2008 Summer Olympics and the 2012 Summer Olympics. She also helped the United States win their titles at the 2015 and 2019 FIFA Women's World Cups, the bronze medal at the 2020 Summer Olympics, and she played for the team at the 2011 FIFA Women's World Cup, where the U.S. finished in second place. After the 2020 Summer Olympics, she announced she would be retiring from the national team following 4 final friendly matches in 2021. She's made 316 appearances for the U.S. national team, placing her second in caps and has the 3rd most goals and 5th most assists for the team. In 2019, she joined several USWNT teammates in a lawsuit against the U.S. Soccer Federation, citing gender discrimination. The team sought pay equal to that of the U.S. men's soccer team. LFG, the 2021 documentary, which I covered on this podcast, is about that lawsuit. In 2022, a settlement was reached, and as part of the deal, players were to receive $24 million. In addition, the Federation promised equal pay for the men's and women's teams at future events. In 2016, she released the memoir, When Nobody Was Watching, My Hard-Fought Journey to the Top of the Soccer World. And now, after a career filled with extraordinary highs and challenging lows, she's retired from professional soccer. But her story doesn't end there. Her insights, her experiences, and her drive to inspire continue to resonate, and not just with athletes, but with anyone striving to overcome obstacles, face their fears, and rise to their own moments of greatness. So in this episode, you're going to hear Carli talk about all of it, the pivotal setbacks that shaped her mind, the mindset that made her a legend, the lessons learned in victory and defeat, and the passion she carries for guiding the next generation of athletes. And I should note, if you have an athlete at home, this is something that you're going to want them to hear as well. And we also talk about some of the most incredible moments, like the 2015 World Cup final. With 26.7 million people watching, she scored 3 goals in the course of 15 minutes, including a 50-yard wonder strike from half field. You are going to love this episode. Here is my interview with Carli Lloyd. Carli Lloyd, a girl from South Jersey. I am so glad to meet you. I'm inspired by your story. Love that you're on my show. Welcome.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm excited to chat.
Okay, first question is, you've traveled all over the world. What makes people from Philadelphia very unique?
Well, first of all, the fans are like no other,
Yeah.
sports fans in general. I just think it's, the upbringing, the blue collar, old school mentality, just rough around the edges, but it's home. I love it. And I've always been a Philly sports fan, even though growing up in New Jersey across the bridge. So it's awesome. I love it.
Well, the interesting story about you is that it's not like you had a sibling that played soccer. I think you said you had an older cousin that played soccer. So it really was kind of your own thing.
It was, yeah, which is kind of unique because I think, nowadays you hear of a lot of, parents playing and then their child ends up playing. But no, my parents were not involved in soccer whatsoever. My older cousin, who was 5 years older than me, who I looked up to, was like my older sister that I never had. She played in high school, played in college. So I would say that, I wanted to emulate her a little bit. But yeah, my parents just signed me up at the age of 5 and loved it right away and just kind of trotted along on the journey.
It's so funny too, because I think oftentimes of how parents in our generation didn't really go to games. I mean, my mom never went to my field hockey games. And now having 5 kids of my own, I know that there are people that have strength coaches, meditation coaches. And I'm assuming because your husband's a golfer that people make jokes to you like, oh, you've got D1 babies.
Yeah, they're like, what sport is she going to play? Is it going to be with her hands or is it going to be with her feet? And I'm like, you know what? There's no pressure. Whatever she likes, we're going to get her involved in a number of different things, swimming, maybe even some musical stuff, because it's all about the lessons being extracted. It's not about trying to turn her into a professional athlete by any means. We want to turn her into a really good human being that works hard, goes for her dreams. But yeah, that is a number one question we get.
So if you look back now at the early years when you were playing, what do you think took you from athlete to elite athlete, and both physically and mentally? Because I think a lot of people think that they may have a child that has something in them. Whether or not that's true or not is another thing. But there has to be some sort of shift where you go from athlete to elite athlete.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you touch on how, your parents didn't go to your sporting events. My parents, same thing. I mean, they weren't involved heavily. It was just kind of the generation of parenting that, the dads went out and worked, the mom stayed home, dealt with the kids, cooked, cleaned. And then my parents, were a bit more hands-on. I'm one of 3. I'm the oldest. I have a younger brother, younger sister, and a younger brother. And we did all sorts of sports. And, my parents weren't insane about it, but they were involved and they wanted to be there for us. Now, this generation of parents it's just too much. Yeah. Everything is structured. They want to brag about their child on social media that they made this team or that team, or they got a college scholarship, all of these different things. And we're kind of losing the plot a little bit. Like I said before, they want to get their kid that scholarship and to be a professional athlete, but really it's such a small percentage of people that actually do make it. And that wasn't my parents' focus with me. Their focus was, okay, let's get our children involved in all different activities. Let's see what they like. I didn't like ballet. I didn't like piano. I didn't like any of those things. I geared, towards the sports, and I was always outside playing. And so soccer, there was always a ball at my feet and it was a soccer ball. And so I think that made it kind of an easy decision for my parents to say, okay, she likes it. But you can't buy love and passion and commitment. And that is what I had. And that was the foundation that anybody needs in order to be successful in anything that they do. There was nothing else I loved more than playing soccer. And I played with so many other, probably more talented players growing up. But I would say the number one thing that separated me from others is I was willing to sacrifice and I was willing to commit myself. It had to be time away from family, from friends, and from activities. And sort of a normal-ish childhood. And I was okay with that. All I wanted to do was play soccer 24/7. So I think, kind of committing myself to that process, consistently working towards it every day, was the biggest factor. And that's what we're losing in today's day and age with kids. The parents, they're not allowing the kids to find that love and passion. They're forcing it upon them. So if you kind of let them find that passion, and things may evolve, yes, you may have to give them a push here and there, but that's the formula. And then the rest can be worked in. You can always get stronger and faster and fitter and all those different things. But that was a big thing. And then I think the mentality piece for me was just being a Jersey girl and rolling my sleeves up. And, I always kind of had this chip on my shoulder. I don't really know exactly where that came from. Maybe it was because I was smaller. I was really, really tiny, very skinny and very short for a number of years. And so I don't know if that kind of just molded me into, proving to people that I could do anything. I loved proving people wrong.
Yeah.
But that was kind of something that carried through with me throughout my journey as well.
Summer's winding down, and while I like to be back in my routine, I am looking for a refresh, and that's why I've been working around my house, making slight changes that are elevating each room and outside. Wayfair has been my go-to. The girls have new pictures on their walls, Jack has new linens, I've swapped out our picture frames in the living room, we have new accessories on bookshelves, and now that Mia's cooking more, we got all new cookware. And we're thinking about getting Hayes a trampoline for the backyard to work on our aerials too. I'm telling you, all of this I have found through Wayfair. Our house style is coastal. There are infinite options that make me feel like I'm steps away from the sand. So I know that with every style that you guys like, you're going to get it, you're going to find it on Wayfair, and no matter your space or budget. So they're going to make it so easy for you to tackle your home goals with endless inspiration for every space and budget, and free and easy delivery even on the big stuff. So this is what I want you to do. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. This show is sponsored by Liquid IV. I'm soaking up the last bits of summer while feeling the pullback to routine. I've been enjoying going on a ton of hikes, and it's really important to stay hydrated. Liquid IV is easy and it's convenient. You just tear, pour, and enjoy. Just one stick and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Staying hydrated is so important, especially in the heat, fueling up for sports, feeling yourself after a long trip or even a night out. Now, remember that delicious popsicle that you would get at a summer birthday party? Well, Liquid IV has captured that taste with the Orange Vanilla Dream Hydration Multiplier. It's going to remind you of that popsicle. That nostalgic vanilla flavor with notes of candied orange can help you feel hydrated better than water alone. Again, grab your water, tear, pour, and enjoy, and stay hydrated this summer. Visit liquidiv.com, and I want you to use the code Kate Casey at checkout for 20% off your first order. Again, visit liquidiv.com and use code Kate Casey at checkout for 20% off your first order. Well, I remember doing an episode about Michael Jordan, and he consistently throughout his career would make up even fake fights in his head. And that's what he needed to elevate his game. So it seems like everybody has their own little thing that can kind of push them. But I think when people look at your total career, they would assume things may have come easily at points. Do you think that there were any pivotal setbacks early on that kind of shaped that mental toughness?
Yeah, it is fascinating how, you look at even somebody like Tom Brady, getting picked to go so late in the draft and then amounting to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That I was kind of a late bloomer. I wasn't really pegged as the next best player coming out of high school, college. And so I think that, not having things handed to me, nothing really came easy to me. One may, say, when I played on my youth days, I would score some goals and I would, be one of the best players on my team and whatnot. But it wasn't always there for me. And I think, kind of growing up in a more of a working class family, my parents didn't have all the money in the world. So when they bought me the cleats that I wanted, they had to last me a good solid year. I had a ball and I couldn't lose that ball because I didn't think I was going to get another ball. So I learned to kind of appreciate what I had, to take care of the things that I had that were, not like in today's day and age where every kid is getting all sorts of equipment. It wasn't the equipment, it wasn't the things that made me mentally tough and into the player I was. It was having to kind of struggle, having to go through injuries, having to be cut from different teams, having to figure out, how I'm going to be able to become the player that I'm going to become. I mean, all of these different things. And I just had to work my way up the ladder. And I think that is something that a lot of parents don't allow their children to do. They don't allow them to fail. They don't allow them to have any sort of setback. They want to blame coaches or blame players. And I did do that to an extent a little bit in my youth career, but then I realized I got to look myself in the mirror and, make this about me. What can I do that forces the coach to play me? And I think if you try to find the lessons and all of those, setbacks and failures throughout your journeys, you essentially then become mentally tough. And then when something else comes at you, you are going to become a little tougher after you get through that. So it's all about just kind of trying to navigate the journey. But yeah, I would say, nothing came easy to me, and I had to work for every single thing that I achieved.
Now, you have been noted for your clutch mentality. It sounds like you have had this like self-inflicted chip on your shoulder, but also is part of it just like you need to have such an intense belief in yourself. Like you get into these situations where you need to make a play happen or score. Did you have a deep, unflinching belief in yourself and your ability?
Yeah, I think that it was a confident swagger.
Yeah.
It wasn't arrogant. I think some people confuse the two. Mm-hmm. But it was that chip on my shoulder type of moment where I knew the bigger the moment, the better I played. I don't know why, but I just thrived. Now, when I look at my youth career, my 80% was better than most people's 100%. And I don't think that was a good thing, that I would go out and sometimes give 80%. But in those big moments and those big games, I showed up 110%. And there was just something about that. And I loved the challenge. I never backed down from a challenge. Like I said, if somebody told me that I couldn't do something, or, coach slighted me or cut me, I took that with vengeance, and I knew that I wanted to, perform in those big moments. So I did it in my youth days for my club team. I did it in high school, in college, on the professional stage. I had to learn how to be more consistent at the professional stage. And then obviously, training extremely hard, getting myself really, really fit, training more than what a game entailed or what a tournament entailed, allowed me in those 6th, 7th game where we're in a final of a tournament and everybody else is tired, I still had juice in me. And majority of it was in the mind, but my body was built to be a machine that could withstand that. So I was able to kind of find those moments of coming up clutch. It was all about preparation. It was all about being consistent in everything that I did on and off the field. And so those moments, I learned that, I could turn them on and off in the youth days, but in the professional level, I learned how to, be consistent and then elevate even more in those big moments, which was a lot of fun.
I think all of us are kind of wondering, What is it like when you are in a stadium filled with crazed fans and you're at this like peak emotional moment and you score a goal? What is that immediate feeling like? And can you feel all the senses? And can you hear people? Can you see? Do you have any memory of any of the moments, or does it go by in a flash?
Oh man, some of the big moments, obviously the Olympics, the World Cups, those big victories. The moments where I scored a goal in front of 83,000 some people. I'll always remember those moments. I think that's what kind of takes me back to my little girl days of just the ball just giving me that sheer confidence. It's like everything else around me just stalls and stops, and it's just me in the field with my team and competing. Those are just some of the most unbelievable moments. And it's one of those things where it's like you hear the crowd, they're there, but you go into this zone where you just kind of are in your own world. And of course, when a big goal is being scored and you hear everybody chanting and everybody screaming, you feed off of that. And all of my goal celebrations, in those big moments purely just came off of what I was feeling in that particular moment, whether it be my arms out, screaming, or the knee slide that I usually do. There's nothing quite like it. It's pretty unbelievable.
You know that person in your life who just can't stand mayo? Call them traumatized. Call them closed-minded. We get it. They're stuck in their ways. But here's the thing. They just haven't tried Hellmann's flavored mayo. We're talking bold flavors that will flip even the biggest skeptics. Spicy mayo that adds the perfect kick to your burger. Garlic aioli that transforms ordinary fries into something extraordinary. Chipotle mayo that turns your basic wrap into a smoky sensation. So to all the mayo haters out there, yes, we're looking at you. It's time to eat your words. Because with mayo this flavorful, any hater is just a mayo lover waiting to be convinced. Hellmann's flavored mayo. Get ready to eat your words.
Church's Smokehouse Chicken is back, and the block already knows what's up. The new Smokehouse Rub hits every piece of that juicy half chicken with bold, smoky flavor that goes straight to the bone. Nobody else does it like Church's. Our recipe served up just for you. Get it in original or bring the heat with the spicy rub. Dial it up Texas style with a honey butter biscuit and a spicy jalapeno pepper on the side. The new dry rub has everybody talking. Lose yourself in the flavor of Smokehouse Chicken starting at $5.99. Order online or in store, only at Church's. Price and participation may vary, tax extra, U.S. only.
Do you find in retirement, do you go back and look at those clips or watch old games, or does it just feel like another lifetime?
Yeah, it was just another chapter of my life that came to an end. I think when athletes struggle to make that transition from, being a professional athlete for so long, and then you're into this, so-called retirement phase, it can be difficult. But, I was really grateful and really blessed to be able to dictate when I wanted to leave the sport. And it was on my terms, which not a lot of people get to do. It wasn't because I was too old. It wasn't because a coach cut me. It wasn't because of an injury. It wasn't because I wasn't performing well. It was just my time to flip to the next chapter of life. And I had given everything. And I think, when people struggle, which they do, I played soccer, but soccer, wasn't who I was. It wasn't everything with my life. It wasn't tied to my identity. My identity was the love and passion that I had for doing something my entire life. It wasn't for fame. It wasn't for money. It wasn't for glory. I know that those moments that we talked about in the stadium nothing is ever going to amount to that. And that's okay. And I think that you have to understand that you're never going to feel that again. You shouldn't feel that again. I think every stage of our life has a reason and a season. And I was ready to flip to the next chapter of life, spend more time with my husband, obviously start a family, have time for friends and family, and just live life. So yeah, I mean, my life is being with my close circle of friends. I live a very low key life. And that's how I've always kind of been. So I think it's been sort of an easier transition for me.
But you can't take away the fact that you're still a competitor. So even if you go golfing with your husband, is it hard to turn that volume down?
Well, it's interesting because I've had so many people ask me this, and yes, I'm learning the sport of golf. My husband is teaching me. I'm trying to learn the right way, which is so hard with golf. I've never tried to play a sport harder than the game of golf, but I'm committed to the process, and I'm trying. And I think the competitiveness is internal. I'm competing against myself every day. Obviously it's different. I'm not out there grinding all the time, 24/7. I've got a life, got a daughter. But my competitive juices were definitely flowing again when I played in this TST soccer tournament recently in June. So it was $1 million prize. I was playing with a bunch of my former teammates, some college players. It was so fun. And with each game, we ended up winning the $1 million prize and won in the final. That competitiveness, it came out and it never left me. But I think that, I just use it in a different way nowadays. I don't over obsess about things, and I'm living more in the present moment. But yeah, it's still there. It's just kind of tucked away and comes out when needed.
My last two questions. So, having a child, giving birth, did you feel like you utilized any of those old athletic skills? And did you feel like it was another athletic performance?
People say that you won't fully understand labor until you go through it. And that is absolutely the case. I have a huge pain threshold. And I've never experienced something like that before. I mean, it was awful. It was hard. It was beautiful. I mean, just everything about the journey of being pregnant and what our bodies can do and how we're growing a human being inside of us and how, just everything that our body does, there's a reason for it. And so I'd like to say that I took all of the lessons that I learned throughout my career into pregnancy and just kind of rolled with the punches. And I really do believe that things are, you can formulate things and feelings in your mind to dictate how you essentially are feeling. And so I always try to kind of stay positive. I actually loved being pregnant. I wouldn't want to be pregnant every year of my life, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I stayed active, but labor was intense. I was about 36 hours of labor. So the first 24 hours, I said to my husband, I never want to do this again. But how quickly that changes. The last 12 hours were a lot better. And obviously she's our beautiful miracle. So, but yeah, it was wild. It was crazy. But here we are, I'm like, yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. That's the way it goes. Well, my last question is, if you were to just think of all the young athletes now, and it doesn't have to be specific to soccer either, but female athletes, how can parents and really a community best support a young female athlete?
I think that the world that a lot of these kids, I mean, not just, girls and young females, there's a lot of expectation and there's a lot of obviously social media and the pressures, and there's, pressure to be a child, in general, but then you add on all these other layers of, people can be cruel and mean. And I think the biggest thing, and this is something that I even, struggled with, is not fully believing in myself, not really fully embracing who I am as an individual. And I think that everybody struggles with that to some degree, when you're younger. I mean, obviously, I feel like, after 35, 40, people start to become more comfortable in their skin. And, you wish that you could have done that a little bit earlier on in your life. But I think that is the most important thing because, you talk about the belief earlier. I mean, no one is going to believe in you as much as yourself. And you have to bet on yourself. And I think that we need to empower these young women and young girls to really just be confident in themselves. And that is not seeking the external validation of the algorithms on your Instagram feed of, skinny bodies or, women dressing a certain way or looking a certain way. You want to be active. You want to, take part in sports and activities and, just be around good human beings. And I think that, that's what you want to do. You want to empower these young girls to kind of seek a good community of people, and just work on loving yourself. It's a really hard thing to do. We work on all these other things, work on school and studying and, sports, whatnot. But there's very little time that we all spend working on ourselves and what we can do to make ourselves happy. So if we're happy as individuals, then you tend to be happier on the outside with other people.
True. Well, I'm congratulating you on a fantastic career. I'm excited for your life in retirement and hoping that you get to do all the things that you would love to do. And I'm so grateful for your time. Tell everybody where they can find you.
So I've got social media. I've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not too active in the TikTok world, but just Carli Lloyd, all my socials. Got a website, carlilloyd.com. I'll be doing the Men's World Cup with Fox Sports next summer. So it's going to be a big year of soccer coming up in the lead up to that. And doing some other various speaking engagements and whatnot. But I've got a nice balance of life between motherhood and working and, leisurely getting out and playing some golf as well.
Well, thank you again.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
I want to thank my fantastic guest, Carli Lloyd, and remind you to make sure that you click subscribe. Please leave a 5-star review. Join the Facebook group, Reality Life with Kate Casey. You can also get my must-watch list of the week. I give you the list of what to watch each week in unscripted TV by going to katecasey.substack.com, so you're not going to miss a documentary or a reality show ever again. You can also get bonus episodes on Apple Podcasts and on Patreon at patreon.com/Kate Casey. And please follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at @KCCA, TikTok it's Kate Casey, and Twitter, Thread, and Blue Sky at Kate Casey.
Mike and Alyssa are always trying to outdo each other. When Alyssa got a small water bottle, Mike got a gallon water filter. When Mike started gardening, Alyssa started beekeeping.
Oh, come on.
They called a truce for their vacation and used Expedia Trip Planner to collaborate on all the details of their trip. Once there, Mike still did more laps around the pool.
Whatever.
You were made to outdo your vacations. We were made to help organize the competition. Expedia, made to travel.